This preseason, take football further with NFL Game Pass.
We make plays, we dominate all night long.
Catch every rookie debut with live out-of-market preseason games.
Welcome to the NFL.
See big names in their new homes.
And here comes one. Julio Jones, touchdown.
Plus, get all the action in 45 minutes or less with condensed game replays.
Oh, my goodness.
Take football further with NFL Game Pass. Go to NFL.com/Game Pass to start your free trial today.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to an impromptu edition of Achtung Millwall. My name is Nick Hart. Joining me in the heady excitement of a number of high-profile signings today, joining me is the man himself, Mr. Ryan Loftus. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Good afternoon. You lit the transfer beacons and out came your best soldiers. You know, we're here to chew the cud and give our thoughts on a busy day for Millwall.
Absolutely. And a buzz with excitement is my compadre, Mr. Harry Warren. Harry, I've never known you be so positive, mate. This has really got you excited, these signings.
Yeah, it's the most positive I've been since I tested positive for COVID. So yeah, so it's not bad.
Let's hope it has a better effect on your body.
Yeah, buy shares in Imodium. That's my my overlying role.
Oh dear. So yes, it is an impromptu edition to this. I have got made a few notes, but there's not going to be minimal structure to this, chap. So I'm looking to you both to help me fill in the blanks. 3 fairly high-profile signings in order of excitability on my front. I mean, today's news really provoked today's edition, chaps, was the Richard Corley story that George Saville is on the brink of returning to the Den. That's fantastic news and unexpected news, Ryan.
Yeah, really, really exciting news. I don't think anyone saw it coming. I know a lot of fans have, and including Harry, myself, and a couple others you've seen online, have kind of always said we've never really replaced Saville. It'd be if they ever got the chance, came up to bring him back. If we could find someone even just a bit like him, it would be a real boost to the team. And with no kind of indication going ahead to see it kind of pop up today from Rich Crawley that he is on the verge of rejoining is a massive boost and a massive buzz for the fans.
Absolutely. I mean, Harry, I'm reminded of when David Bowie released an album with no pre-publicity whatsoever. Overnight, there was just like a new album by David Bowie out, and the music world was taken aback. It has a similar kind of impact. George Saville's return. You happy to see him come back? Yeah,
I mean, we've replaced George Saville with George Saville, haven't we?
That's right.
That's very, very Millwall. I mean, hopefully, they say undisclosed fee, and we know that in this market and knowing Millwall's financial sort of standing, I think he went for about 8 million quid, didn't he, when he left? Yeah. So I mean, we've done Middlesbrough over plus their wages that they pay for Saville. I reckon it's probably going to be maybe 1, maybe 2 million tops, but in this market, probably nearer 1.5 or something.
I would have thought. I mean, Ryan, we're not in the £8 million market, are we? I mean, we might be in the £1 or £2 million market, the Ryan Leonard zone or something like that. We're not going to be up in the high
Tom Bradshaw, Leonard,
the high numbers.
No, definitely, it's not going to be I'd be surprised even if it's a club record fee. Really, I mean, we were saying just before we came on, I imagine he's probably entering the last year of his contract in Borough, and it's been a while since they've been in the top flight now. So maybe the parachute payments are running out and the coffers are running a bit dry. They released the likes of Son Belonga, who probably would have been up there with their top earners. So
he was 15 million, of course, wasn't he? Famously.
Yeah, so maybe they're having a bit of a financial restructure.
Yeah, Fletcher went, didn't they? They've also got a habit of sacking managers up there, which eventually probably catches up with you in compensation, and it's time to get rid of George Saville.
Yeah, I mean, George Saville's return intrigues me. I mean, he's actually the 4th spell that he'll have at the Den. And that's quite an incredible thing. I mean, Steve Morrison, I think, had 3 spells in his time. And if you throw in, there's a loan period in 2013 when I think Saville was still a Chelsea player at that point. Again in 2014, Then, of course, the permanent deal in 2017, which provoked the £8 million fee when we sold him to Borough. And now we hope, all things being equal, fair wind, rabbit's foot in my hand, bit of gypsy, flowers in the other hand. He's going to re-sign for us in 2021. That's 4 spells. Some players, Harry, never leave us, do they? They try their best. They have ideas of going to clubs that have big time aspirations, but they always find their way back to the den. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's I think with the Savile thing, there is a little bit of unfinished business there. He was very much of his time, which I'll be interested to see going forward. That, is he going to play in this three? Is he going to be the more attacking one, or is he being brought in for a bit of mobility because he's not best with outstanding pace, but he's definitely going to be the quickest of our midfield, I would assume, in a sprint. So yeah, maybe. He's a box-to-box player. It probably will spell the end of Ben Thompson at Millwall Football Club, which, maybe we've sold Ben Thompson too late, because I don't know whether or not his stock is as high as it could have been when I think Portsmouth offered 800 grand for him or something like that. But if we reuse that and put that into the squad, then fair enough. And if we're buying players like George Savile, no one can really complain about that. I don't have a problem with players leaving as long as we replace them with better than what we originally had. And we know if George Savile comes back and is at the level that he was at when he left us, then Millwall's midfield suddenly looks a lot more, not violent. Violent's not the right word, but a lot more aggressive,
robust.
a lot more Millwall-like. When I was slagging Ryan Woods off last season,
Did you?
Did you? Yeah, exactly. Did I mention him a couple of times? Yeah. When this is the difference. I prefer a Millwall midfielder like George Savile, who has different qualities than what Ryan Woods brings us, and I'm a lot happier. I know that a certain journalist who is quite famous or infamous, shall I say, for saying that he couldn't see why we'd let Woods go. Well, obviously, if they had that on the back burner, that's definitely why they decided to go for Savile over Woods, I suppose.
Oh, every day of the week. I mean, Savile, we hope we're going to get the same Savile that left us in, was it 2019, Ryan? I mean, he will bring, in that case, he will bring drive to the midfield that was sadly lacking last season, won't he?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with what Harry says in terms of what he brings to midfield. He does restructure. I think Millwall's midfield for a lot of last season and, without signings this season it's really pedestrian. And I've mentioned it on here quite a few times before about that lack of central threat and, the inability to create chances or do anything really through the midfield. And we saw more and more with Woods kind of as the season went on that he just wasn't offering that.
Yeah.
I was looking over just because obviously he didn't necessarily like the world or set the world alight when he joined Borough. I think it took a while for Savile to settle in and make a mark and really become a regular. I think, like Harry mentioned, you had a few changes of managers there as well. So, by the time any club like that, as soon as you get signed, within 6 months, all the signings that came in are now under someone else and have to re-impress again. They're no longer a favourite. And I think it took him a little while to get going, but I was looking over, just some of his kind of key metrics from last season, and he's really showing form of getting back to the levels that he was at when he was with us. So last season he got 6 goals, which is his most since the 10-goal season he had with us, and an XG of 8.2 he got. So potentially looking up to 8. That was second top scorer for Borough. Just behind, I think it was Asamoah maybe just ahead of him, but. From a midfielder again to be second top scorer, that's really positive. He had 32 key passes in the season, so 0.8 a match. Only Malone and Wallace had more than that for Millwall. Yeah. He bested Woods in that metric. Chances created, he was better than Woods. Second for Borough for key passes and chances created. Second for Borough of winning possession in the final third. Again, just behind Wallace and Malone on that one for Millwall. And really, really close, a lot of these numbers to the numbers he put out his first in that 17-18 year with us. So, 8 chances fewer created, 2 goals less, probably about, 8 or 9 key passes less, 5 fewer times possession won in the final third. So there's a lot of indicators that last season he was getting back to his best. And obviously, 4 years older now. You would maybe expect those to drop, or a player who's not that confident. I think he had a lot of games off the bench in his first 2 seasons, and he kind of found his place under Warnock. He was, playing in a back three, so he's probably, playing in the midfield with the formation with a back three in it. Probably a bit more familiar with how we'll play under Rowett, but we know he can do it in a midfield too, or in a 4-4-2, or if it's going to be a 4-2-3-1 that he played in under Harris. But you see, he had such good connection with our attackers, and Wallace is still here, who he played with at Wolves and played with when he was at Millwall. So they probably hopefully they can have a wavelength still and get back together.
I was going to come on to Jed because, Harry, Jed is still, the contract of Jed is still one of those things that's...
he's in contract for another season until the end of this
Yes,
season.
he is. Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
I get the clamour to make money on him. I am telling you now, I'm willing to let Jed Wallace's contract run out to have one last go at getting promoted. Because if you don't take that risk, what are you actually going to gain for him in this market? The market is not a seller's market.
Would we get another Jed in from somewhere else, Ryan? if we sold him...
This is the point. This is the point. You're not going to get it for Jed money, so you might as well get the band back together, which they seemingly are looking like they're doing, and go again.
I think it's Jed. It's that is a big concern, and that will be a problem when I guess Mill will come to it. Hopefully they can entice him to stay. Like I say, getting that band back together, maybe showing the ambition is one way to keep a player sometimes. If you bring back Saville that Jed knows, you bring in a couple other players and it goes, look, we're going to make a fist of this, and say, we get 8 months, we get halfway through the season. If we're not looking like we're on course for the playoffs, then maybe Jed has to go. And in terms of, at the end of his contract, at this point, like Harry's saying, we're not going to get much for him. At this point, I would much rather have him for this year, him for this year and lose him on a free and kind of wish him well, than lose him now and in a market where it will be hard to rebuild. You look at just every metric, he's double all the rest of our players in terms of everything and attacking and defending from the front. He's just too vital for us to lose at the moment. So I think the best way to keep hold of him is to bolster the squad around him and give him the tools he needs, to really go for a playoff push and show ambition.
And tell him he doesn't have to lump crosses into John Daddy Bodvarsson.
Or tell him that he doesn't have to run himself into the ground 90 minutes just to finish 10th, Yeah.
John Daddy Bodvarsson, number 23 in the squad, is going to be replaced at number 23 by one Benik Afobe, chaps, who was second in my list of excitement of signings. I've written here much travelled, much expensive, makes no sense at all. And yet I've written it. That's the state I'm in these days, listeners, since that heart attack. Much expensive, much experienced, much travelled. 335 career appearances, 85 goals. Where do we stand on the Afobe? Initially I was quite neutral, but I think in the context of Saville coming back, and as you've just said there, Harry, not lumping crosses into John Daddy, but maybe Benik Afobe, it starts to look a little bit more impressive. Is that a fair comment, boys? Do you think?
I don't know about impressive. I'm impressed with the bit of business. I'm impressed that we've got there seems to be players coming in now, which is always a nice idea because we did let players go, obviously. And they were quite solid Millwall League One level and always put a shift in type players, Ferguson, Williams. I think a few others left as well. But the thing is with the squad now is if you look at the midfield's probably done. We don't really need anything sort of centrally in midfield.
It's quite an array in midfield, Harry, isn't it, really, when you look at it?
Yeah, so now you're looking at, I think we've got a lot of players that can play in multiple positions. There's Leonard and Evans who can play in defence if we had a massive injury crisis. Mahoney, we've never seen the best of on the left-hand side, with Bennett, presumably, and Malone possibly playing as a left-sided midfielder in certain formations and certain games and so on. So it is just the attack. And if you're going to go and sign Afobe, you seem to, under Jacket, play quite well, if I remember rightly, and then got injured, which seems to be the story of Bennick's
his career.
Yeah, which, it's got to come right for him at some point, or it's never going to come right for him. And hopefully it does come right for him this season. I mean, probably 10 more goals in our side would make a massive difference. That jump from 10th to 6th seems a lot more doable when you sort of add probably 10 a goal season striker in there, because we haven't even had that. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, I've forgotten he'd actually played for us. I mean, these spells go from your mind. I find 2013 he had a loan spell, and as you say, Harry was injured in that spell. I can't remember much of him, so I'm not even going to pretend that I can remember Benik Afobe playing for the Lions. But Ryan, I mean, he was quite a prospect. He came from Arsenal. When you look at his Wikipedia entry, I mean, he played for the England under 21 side, under 18s. And is now playing for Congo internationally. He's played in the Cup of Nations, been to Turkey. He's been around the houses, but there was quite a prospect at one point. I'm wondering whether Gary Rowett can tap into what once was, so to speak, with Benik.
Yeah, it's an odd one. I wouldn't have called it myself in terms of actually happening. Like you say, obviously gone off to Trabzonspor for last season, and you kind of then go, as soon as a player goes out there, you're like, okay, well, that's them off the radar. You don't really need to worry about them anymore. But he's an interesting one. I really hope he will do well. Obviously, he's had, like Harry mentioned, injury problems. Also had that,
and some personal tragedy.
And that really put a halt on his kind of career when he was really hitting form at Bournemouth and Wolves just before then. Looking back in 1 year for Wolves, got 22 goals in 43 games for them. I think helping them get promoted, and then went to Bournemouth and got 10 in 30. So, has had some really good strike rates, and since then just slightly slowed down. I always feel like when a player moves to Stoke, a player kind of shoots their own career in the foot.
It slows you down, as it's like the water.
Well, exactly. Any I can't name me a player who has left the club and gone to Stoke in recent years and done well. It's a bit of a dead zone at the moment for players. So, and Rowett potentially is a good coach in terms of revitalizing players' careers to an extent. He's kind of doing it with Mason Bennett, and you've seen how he rehabilitated this player who was so injury prone and never had form into someone who's getting there a bit. And just looking back at Afobe's kind of career, he's always looks like he's been someone who's struggled to maybe be a first team player. I think everywhere he's gone, he seems to have as many, if not more, substitute appearances than starting appearances, and probably one of those who stayed at Arsenal for a bit too long, even though he knew he wasn't going to make it. And he had 7 loan spells before making a move to Wolves, who bought it for £2 million. His total career fees, he's been sold for more than £10 million 3 times. He's someone who has obviously been rated and been sought after. So to get him on loan, a different sort of profile to Zohore as well. I think someone's a bit more mobile, but probably a better finisher than Zohore. Hopefully a bit more reliable in terms of injury. You're not getting someone partway through a season. He's going to have a full pre-season with us. He seemed to not have too many injuries out in Turkey as well, so managed to have most of the season out there. And that regularity of football can be such a difference for some players.
How did he get on at Trebs?
So he scored 5 goals. He made 10 starts and 18 off the bench. So not a massive return, but they're not the best team in Turkey. And
no, they're not.
It can take someone a little bit of time to adapt. He hadn't had much football beyond that. Played looking at his stat, he had a short spell with Bristol City and got 3 goals in 12 games there. You're getting 4 of those off the bench. So
that's one in 4?
1 in 3. Oh yeah, 1 in 4. 1 in 4, and with
compare
only 8 starts.
Compare that with John Daddy's rate, though, Ron, which is one in 7
or whatever. So what's 1 in 4 for a season? That's 10 goals. That's 10 goals.
That's 10 goals. That's 10. Just like 10, I guess 10, 11 goals. That's a really good return, and that's if someone can stay fit and like you say, now pair that with Saville, pair that with Malone and Wallace. If you look at who we've got in the squad now, that hopefully could be a catalyst for him, and someone again who knows the club, who's only been here was here for a short time, and in like you say, Nick, a travelled career, but familiar settings. I'm pretty sure he's London born.
Yeah, so he is. Yeah,
familiar settings and things like that can really help a player. And being somewhere for a whole season, knowing this is where you're going to be for the year. If he has a good season, I imagine his contract will be coming towards the end with Stoke. Can look to get a permanent move, and sometimes that can be a spark someone needs.
He speaks highly of Gary Rowett. I'm just looking at the London News Online story where he speaks well of working with Gary Rowett in the past. And I wonder whether, just like George Savile, perhaps, Harry, I mean, players are human beings, aren't they? They want to be around people and places that are familiar and where you feel wanted and cared about. And if you don't feel that, whether that's in Middlesbrough, Trabzonspor or Stoke City, you're not going to be at your best, are you?
No, I think that there is a relationship with certain players and certain clubs and certain managers and certain clubs. And I think it's obviously good that Rowett's attracting different players, and that sometimes has led to us signing clearly Kifton Bell and now Benica Phobie and Evans, who Evans is probably the one that I'm still not sure about, but there we go. I just think that the problem for me is we're still not. I get this idea that it's not Rowett's side was sort of thrown last season. I think with this transfer window, touching back to what we said on the previous show, is that they've got to do more. I still think 3 signings, although they're good, I still think that there's more to be done. I still think we're light in a few areas, and hopefully Gary Rowett's contacts. And this isn't the rabbit out the hat that Aaron was talking about. I know Savile is. And I know a Phobie is to some extent, but it's still not I know for the size of us, it's really big and it's really great, but I still think there's business to be done. I mean,
talk of Josh Windass, Harry.
Well, I think
£5 million, which seemed to put us out of the market. But then a lot of this is smoke and mirrors. I don't think they'd tell us the full truth. This might come as a shock to some listeners.
I don't think Josh Windass is wanted. I don't think Sheffield Wednesday are in any fit state to turn around and turn down money. I'm being totally honest. I know it can turn down 400k, but it seems to dawn on players. You listen to other podcasts when it's got ex-pros on. When the pre-season starts and you haven't got a club, that's when they start ringing their agent and get me out of here. I don't want to be here. I don't rate this manager. I don't rate what we're doing. I want to leave. I want to do this. I want to do that. And we're quietly doing business, started to do business, and Gary Rowett's not going to get us relegated, and we're going to hopefully do business that puts us at the right end of the table. And our odds have been slashed into 7-1 to get promoted this morning.
You've changed, Harry. What's become of you? You've changed.
Well, I can only slag off what I see in front of me. So last season I wasn't happy with what I saw. I wasn't happy with the direction that we decided to go down. I knew it was wrong for us. I've watched us like us all, and I understand that people get bored with Harris 4-4-2 football. But I also understand that we don't have to play boring 4-4-2 football, but the way that we play to the Den and the way that we play away from home can be 2 very different things. And
well, it has to be, doesn't it? You couldn't play that defensive style regularly at the Den in front of a crowd.
But the idea was clearly to do that. And Ryan Woods and sort of slow, sort of muddling, sort of pudding basin midfield that doesn't really have anything really exciting in it. We're very bland, like a Scottish restaurant, and it's not great. And sort of Savile's are like, I don't know, we've added some vegetables or maybe a bit of chili,
a nice little lively
little bit of spice,
little bit of spice, and it's nice. And I can see the idea of that.
Achtung, Mehlball.
Let's talk about some spice, because there's an intriguing story on the London News, and I don't know if it's very carefully worded actually. Millwall boss has said that Manchester City striker Liam Delap will be in big loan demand, and then the story goes on that he has not dismissed a link to young Manchester City's Liam Delap. Well, you could phrase that. I might not dismiss a link to Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. Don't mean to say it's a realistic prospect, but what do we think? Would that be a rabbit out of the hat? Someone of Manchester City caliber, Liam Delap, for example?
Sorry, I was just about to say that I feel it's not a dead parrot, for it ceases to be, or some words to that effect. That's how I feel about that. It's great going for these prospects, but if they don't work out, you look very much like the clown in the room.
You're thinking of the ghost of Troy Parrott.
I am thinking of the ghost of the perched parrot. Yes.
Ryan. He's obviously he's an Ipswich player, and I believe I don't know where he is now. I've lost track of him. It was just remarkable for a player that once commanded such attention. don't know anything about Liam Delap, so I can't comment on him. I don't know if you've seen anything of him. Would it be a prospect if that came to pass for us, Ryan?
Yeah, he does look really, really good. To be fair, for Man City's academy, he it is one of those with Parrott, and it is, it's always a gamble going for a youngster who's not played. It's one of those things you have to gamble sometimes, and sometimes it's just adding someone for squad depth and someone who you hope might come through and prove to be a wonder star, and you get a good season out of them. But with Parrott, obviously came in and got those injuries and just completely killed off any momentum that he had coming into this season. I think you look at Delap; he's got something like 40 goals in 35 games this year in the youth leagues, and obviously that is youth football, and it's not Premier League football or not Championship or men's football. And sometimes you take a gamble. I think where Millwall maybe went wrong last season was they kind of put all their eggs in one basket with Parrott.
We pinned our hopes on Parrott.
And then when he got injured, we were scrambling to get Zohore in later. So I think now this approach of there will be every club in the Championship, I think, if offered him, would take him. But sometimes it is just a matter of having a bit of icing on top of the cake in terms of, we're going to get this kid on loan, and if he sparks fire, then he'll be brilliant for us and could be a really key player. If not, then, we rely on the players we've got, which isn't necessarily the worst thing if we can bolster the squad. Otherwise, I definitely agree with Harry saying that we need a couple more still. I still think a creative, like a 10 or a creative midfielder is needed. I know Saville's come in and will bolster that. I think Josh Windass, would be a really good signing, not for any sort of anywhere near the price that Wednesday are looking for. Yeah. But like Harry said, they're not in a position where they can demand that money. I think they've got maybe we can, tell them it was 5 million and really we've only paid them 1.2, and then they can go to a court of arbitration if we use their own tactics against them, where we just tell them a certain amount of money is a certain amount of money and there's no need to check it because they should just believe what we say. But I think there's work to be done still, but it's positive signs for the 1st of July.
Not quite a statement of intent, Harry, for you, but it's certainly a good splash so far. I don't know if I'm mixing my metaphors there, listeners, but we're kind of on the right road. Are you on the get the Rowett train?
Well, I'm now fully in the Rowett in camp, rather than the Rowett out one. It's not done. Maybe I don't like going back to players that we've had before all the time, but I do find myself sitting here thinking, in this market, when it does seem very stagnant now. I don't know if this is because people are at the Euros. It seems like it is literally a load of players who are free agents that are not moving. And I think clubs are not spending their money because they're waiting to see what they can get on the cheap and pay wages and so on, not pay big transfer fees. I also think the loan market's going to be used a lot more this season than what it has been previously, just because of the way our COVID's hit pockets. And I think clubs are terrified about a possible fourth wave hitting them sort of September, October.
Yeah.
Which I think, any sane club would be, and any business really would be.
And so should we all, I think.
Yeah.
Away from football, we don't.
Yeah.
It's
so I think maybe sort of careful caution may come into it a little bit, but I'd assume that Mr. Thompson's on his way out, so I suppose that's another whatever.
He'll be joining Tunnicliffe and Willow at Pont.
Well, that's a League One midfield free. If only they sacked their manager and give Neil Harris the job, then we'll be halfway there to a promotion, wouldn't they, Portsmouth?
Not bad having a feeder team in the lower leagues, is it?
Well, no, we should just do. Do you remember on Champion? Oh, probably Nick doesn't know what I'm talking about, but Brian definitely will, and some listeners would. Remember on Football Manager, where you used to be able to do add affiliate club, and you just send all your young.
Was that not St Johnston, Harry? Up in Scotland.
Well, that's St Johnston.
Sent Hayden Muller up to St Johnston.
That's our European base. You know how they say Scotland want to be in the EU, so that's going to be our sort of shit-assery way of getting into Europe. Is when Scotland get independence, we'll just use that as the European base camp.
Join James Brown, who's stayed there. He went there and stayed there, unlike Danny McNamara, who came back. Hayden Muller went to St Johnston. John Daddy, we don't know what's going to become of John Daddy. We hope he's on the way out. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke. I sometimes I just sometimes feel a bit kind of this is football. You talk about human beings as cartoon characters, don't you? But John Daddy never performed. So, and his number's been taken now for Bennick, so it does seem a bit like John Daddy's en route for somewhere else. Who knows where? Gentlemen, I just want to close us out with two remaining things that caught my eye. One is an addition to our coaching staff. We've got another Paul Robinson. How many Paul Robinsons have we had? This one was a Birmingham version.
Anymore.
I mean, I thought we were like the Ramones, where everyone was like pretending to be Paul Robinson. Everyone had the same name, made out they were brothers. Apparently, he's taken over the position of the same position that Sean Williams was occupying last season as in coaching. So welcome to another Paul Robinson, not the Paul Robinson, Harry, but another Paul Robinson.
Well, you know who we'll have lined up as soon as a goalkeeping coach spot comes available.
Paul Robinson.
I reckon it'll be Paul Robinson.
But it has. Well, you know how Millwall like to be thrifty, and remember back in the day when Theo was on that sort of documentary where he was trying to flog the food on a Tuesday night off to the staff.
Yeah.
That's basically what they do, but with the kit. So they
made the players pay for their toast at the Calmont Road kitchen, didn't they?
Anyway, moving on from Theo. We could have another. We could do another Theo because we have Theo Robinson. We have all the Robinsons. We've had all the Robinsons.
The Robinson band.
Yeah, just the other thing I'm thinking is we also might need some form of right-hand side winger would be quite nice as well. Not Scalak though, but like just another right winger.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll put a bit more faith in Bury this season to
possibly
to fill that role. He didn't really use them too much last year. It's always an interesting one of pre-season's always where you get maybe a bit more of a glimpse of the young players who could potentially do it, and and that's where everyone starts speculating of this is the year they'll break through and they'll be really good, and all the pictures and pre-season friendlies, you see these performances and go, this is the year Ryan Leonard actually plays just as a false nine and gets 40 goals for us. We did it against Southend in a warm-up game. He's going to get 50.
Yeah. Social media goes mad.
Yeah, my first indicator has been that one of the first days back they had Isaac Alofe front and centre in one of the pictures, and you immediately start going, oh, hello, he's with the lads. Is he going to play? Is he going to be the
great faith? I'm putting a lot of faith in Isaac.
I mean, I think logically the the centre of midfield, we've got a wealth of riches there. I really don't know what we're going to play and where and whom and at what time, because realistically, my three are probably completely different than your three. I mean, my three would be Kifton, Bell, Mitchell, and Saville. And that seems unfair on Ryan Leonard.
Yeah.
But I'd almost, if we're playing a five at the back, I'd play.
And
Leonard.
George Evans. I mean, I know opinion is mixed on George Evans, Ryan, but I thought we did okay in the midfield role, less so in defence. He looked very shaky there, but as Harry says, we've got quite a midfield there, really, in terms of choice.
Yeah, it's definitely depth. I mean, it's just depth of similar players. I think was the problem that we started to mount, that's why I'm not too fussed with Sean Williams moving on. I still would have liked to have a bit more of a send off. It's nice that he's going to be back for the Carabao Cup, but we do have a lot of players there, a lot of versatile, with no one really occupying one position, and hopefully it will. Someone makes that shirt their own with the old cliche. You imagine Billy Mitchell will very much want to do that. Saville, if he's coming in as a kind of a marquee signing, you feel like he is going to occupy that. And then, like you say, you've got three other options in Keith Beld, Evans and Leonard. Who all really should be or will want to be starters. So, it's always good to have that depth. And like Harry says, there's just a couple other spots around where we maybe have slightly less depth that you should still be looking at.
Definitely need a 10. I think you're right with the 10. Also, I like how we've gone the whole way through the podcast without announcing that we signed the Arsenal youngster
Daniel Ballard. That was he was the third of our three signings.
So we moan about no signings, and then we nearly go through a whole pod without mentioning the third one. But I don't know.
I don't know enough about him. All I've read is what's online about Daniel Ballard. I don't know if you know him, Ryan, or if you've seen anything of him, Harry, but 25 appearances on loan with Blackpool, and he's an Arsenal prospect, but he does seem like a player for the future, as the cliche has it.
I think he played for Northern Ireland as well.
Northern Irish player, yeah,
that's right. He's made a couple of appearances. I've seen him in that side didn't really take much notice of him. I don't know if that's a good thing as a defender. If you don't really notice you must be doing your job. But yeah, I think he was signed as probably another one as cover. And yeah, it's weird, isn't it? There's this sort of transition is a very slow build, which seems to be sort of accelerated by COVID in a weird way. I feel I know how we said this last season. We've seen this a couple of times now, but I really don't fear this division in any way, shape, or form. I'm sitting there and, Sheffield United seem to be in some form of disarray. I can't see them doing what they did
Well,
before.
Derby are in all sorts of
Derby,
trouble,
a big
aren't they?
club that are just, a carnage. And you sit there and this is the time. If this is not the time to have a good go at it, when is the time? What are we in the division for? I know people say that we should be just happy to, or some people say we should just be happy to be in the second and third, and that's where we've always been. So we should always be sort of saying you're from Yorkshire and you like meat and two veg, and that's what you look for. But I'd like a bit of excitement. The Madcap run is what we live for, and imagine us being back and having a great season. And it just seems like slowly but surely 3 signings can change the mood, and
certainly change the mood
fine.
online. I mean, I think the place is a buzz at the moment, and that's great to see, Ryan. I mean, it's been a long time since the Den has been alight with excitement, and I think that this is a really, if not the end of the squad building, then it's certainly a big statement of some form of intent, in my opinion. So, well done to Millwall FC for what they've done so far. Best of luck to Daniel Ballard and George Saville and Benik Afobe. And I think we're on the way. One thing I do want to mention, boys, before we go, and I'm going to recommend to Mike Hayden, who's not very well at the moment, him and his wife, don't look at the new training kit, Mike. It's going to make you feel 10 times worse than whatever you're feeling at the moment, mate, because it's quite leery. I don't know if you've seen it, chaps. And I don't know who designs this stuff. It looks like someone's dropped a load of spaghetti on the floor and said, "Oh, that looks great. We're going to make a shirt design out of it."
I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as people are making
You
out.
like it?
At the end of the day, it's just a training kit.
Ryan likes it.
How old is Ryan, though? That's the question.
He's into hip hop. He's listening to hip hop and all that kind of stuff, Harry.
Is it still made by Macron?
Macron.
Yeah, I think it's our last year on the deal with Macron, which hopefully we're close to nudging them out the door slowly.
So Macron provides my Saturday League team shirts, and it took them. I think they can only do a certain amount of shirts per time. So obviously over COVID, they shut down completely. So for some of our squad players, we've been waiting sort of 6 to 8 weeks past. So we're now going for pre-seasons with shirts that were ordered at Christmas. They're turning up now. And it's like, oh, okay, cheers for that. So this is the top quality. That's probably who designs them. They've just got one guy that designs all
Probably.
Well, they did have problems at the beginning of last season, if I remember rightly, or the season before, with getting the shirts out on time. So let's hope they've learned their lesson. But I just want to say on the Daniel Ballard sign, I think he will be. Well, maybe not really good, but I think it's a really good signing for Millwall. I think it helps having a young player who played in League One, especially as a defender who's played in League One.
Yeah.
And physicality wise, maybe the Championship is slightly less physical and robust, shall we say, than League One. So that's a good kind of primer for him. And I think a lot of the good Championship loans recently from Premier League sides have been centre backs. I think it's a good kind of progression for them. It's maybe easier as a defender to kind of work your way up the level than it is a striker. I think a striker, it's almost like you have it or you don't. But with defenders, you get accustomed maybe to certain levels. You look at, Gahey, who's on loan at Swansea, or Ben White was on loan at Newport and then Leeds and then now in the England squad, and Tamori, who went to Derby, then is now at AC Milan. I think there's a recent history at least, of Championship centre-backs or centre-backs going on loan to Championship sides and really progressing. So let's hope he slots in nicely, and let's hope our next 2 kits that get released suit him well and nice and vibrant for the younger generation. I think
I might get one and hang with the kids, Ryan.
I think that's what we need.
What's the rumor regarding the kit? Will it be blue with white to match the training kit, or will it be husky chocolate red again? I haven't
seen anything about the new season's kit at all. I mean, there was a great quote online that went, for a club where the support go on and on and on about not wearing replica shirts. We seem to be obsessed with a new kit and when it comes out and what it's going to look like.
Well, I think it's more for the fact that we don't want to wear replica kit, but if we do well, people we have the Millwall shop should take note of this business plan, right? At the start of the season, you only really sell kids kits, right? Not many people buy a replica shirt. They then put a sale on at Christmas.
They do.
And then, but that's before they know whether you're in any kind of cup final, any playoff, any sort of day where sort of the people that only come one game a season, the people that the strings that
the glory hunters,
who will buy a shirt because that's that type of fan, they then take and pay half the money they could have paid. So this is beyond you. Please do not have a sale of the home shirt of at Christmas. It's not.
Please make them nice looking. That's my
that's all we ask for.
Designer.
And also, don't let the Millwall come off the front, or the eye off the Husky peel off after.
Come off in the wash.
It's not great, is it? But
also, I'm still looking forward to our European signings that have been rival. I mean, I don't know if anyone knows, but
from Northern Ireland. Daniel Ballard's from Northern Ireland.
Hopefully the recruitment team have been keeping their ears to the ground. I think there's this hot Argentinian player who's just gone out of contract. So hopefully they're sniffing around him. I know Harry was looking for a replacement on the right wing, but I think he was at Barcelona until 2 days ago. His contract's just gone. So a Lionel Messi, who is currently a free agent, could be.
I've heard he's put.
You had me going for a minute there.
He's got a come and get me plea. Come and get me,
please. He's a big fan of hot chocolate, apparently.
The Husky
tonight. So hopefully we can get some sponsorship. Maybe we could get the Wayne Rooney style. I mean, how much money do Husky have? Can they afford 150 million?
Well, they can afford McLaren's rear wing and to run one IndyCar in America. The 500, they're the only red car. It's so easy to spot. And they've got a Swedish driver, Marcus Ericsson, who used to drive in Formula One as well. So they're not hard up. Let's put it this way. I don't know what. I mean, I still can't work out what the fuck they're doing with us. But there we go. There we go.
Perhaps if Lionel Messi is listening, I'm sure he is. Tuned into Achtung Millwall out there in Barcelona. Get in touch. We can put you onto Husky. We can make it happen.
Making it slightly more realistic. I mean, surely the Hungarian. Anyone from the Hungarian squad that's actually still playing in Hungary, or someone, all these kind of nations are surely a lot more gettable than,
I do wonder whether we've been looking at the Euros and taking. No, I mean, you'd hope we are. I don't know.
I mean, there's a Finnish centre back that I watched basically throw himself at everything, and I think he's like 28, and he's a semi-professional football player that plays in Finland. And has done really. I thought Finland defended like lions against most of the teams they come up against. I was sitting there going, "That's the kind of European signing I want. Us to take a punt on someone like that for like $100,000. You know what I mean? That's not really going to break the bank. You can have a go at him. He's 28. You lose absolutely nothing by having guests on him, and it's literally like one of those. But we always end up when we go into when we go abroad, we end up with Bob Peters and Mayerhofer, and that terrifies me. So.
Jerry Skelak, that's who we end up with. But there we are. I'd forgotten about the European signing story, Ryan. So now we're going to keep an eye out on that one now. We'll see who we do finally get. Gentlemen, thank you very much for this impromptu edition. Who knows what excitement lies ahead of us for European signings and other strikers and all sorts of things. But for now, it's been a big thank you to Ryan Loftus. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Nick.
And a big thank you to the man himself, Harry Warren. Thank you, Harry.
No problem, mate.
And thank you to you too, dear listeners, for listening. We'll be back near the start of the season, or unless there's any other earthquake-style three-way signings, we'll be back then. But till then, till August, bye for now.
Hello?
Reporting from Skalak's sick bed. I've been struck down with COVID-19 Delta variant, I believe, which has been pretty debilitating for the last few days. Starting to show signs of recovery. And Millwall have just given me a little bit of medicine over the last couple of days, if I'm honest. Some extremely promising signings. Firstly, the lad Dan Ballard from Arsenal. A couple of mates are Arsenal fans, say that he's a promising prospect. Blackpool fans have been raving about him, and he's exactly what we needed to strengthen at centre back. So that's excellent news. George Saville having a medical, a player we know very, very well. If he can find the form that he showed in his last spell before we sold him, for £8 million, I think we'll be extremely pleased. And he, I know Harry always says this, but we've never replaced Saville. We did a bit with Malumbi. So if he can provide that link between the midfield and the attacking phases, that's really going to help us next season, helping him with goals and assists. So, and it's a great bit of business as well. I'm unsure on how much we're spending on him, but I would say that it's going to be nowhere near 8 million. So not bad business at all. Benik Afobe. At first, I was a little bit disappointed with that signing, just to the fact that not really scored a goal for a few years, to be honest. Not found a home. Bit of a journeyman striker. Still only 28. But then I thought to myself, actually, now with Saville coming in, he probably will get that better service. And also, I think Millwall's a place sometimes where players who want to rejuvenate their career, and I think Afobe certainly needs that. He could do it here at Millwall on loan for the season. So, that could turn out to be a good signing. So all in all, not bad business at all from the Lions. We'll see if anyone leaves. Perhaps we could see Thompson move out now. I'm not sure if that would be the plan. Another central player. Bodvarsson still sucking up Berylson's child's inheritance and grandchildren's inheritance. Perhaps it's time for him to get shipped out if anyone will ever take him. But certainly perked me up a bit. So that's given me more confidence for this season now. Anyway, come on, you Lions.
Random mum from the school run. Firstly, can we confirm you are a random mother?
Yes.
Can we confirm we are currently on the school run?
Yes.
You've been chosen because we feel you accurately represent the fan base of all females in South London in football. Would you agree with this statement?
If you say so.
If I say so. Right, so question number one. Millwall's done some good transfer business. We've just signed a centre defender from Arsenal on loan. Did well last season at Blackpool. What's your view representing the mums?
Yeah, it's all good.
Care to elaborate a bit more?
I mean, they need football players, so they've got to have someone, haven't they?
Yeah. Secondly, Benik Afobe, he's rejoined from Stoke on loan. He was on loan at Millwall before. He's been around a bit, played under Garrett before. Was you happy to see Benik back at the Den?
As long as he plays better than last time.
He's not really played well for a little while, was he?
Yeah.
Can we confirm you are actually a Millwall fan?
No.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, we'll swiftly move on. George Saville, fourth time at the Den now, on loan from Middlesbrough after signing for Middlesbrough for £8 million. It's good business, don't you think?
Well, it is good business, but, if they've signed him 4 times, he needs to be a lot better than the first, second and third.
Yeah, that goes without saying, really. And what is your message to Millwall fans from the mums of the playground? Maybe if there's any single ones to get in touch?
Any single ones? Yeah, okay. We could do with some wags in the playground. It's all good.
Yeah, indeed. So, arrivederci, Millwall.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to After Millwall. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a cheeky little review. Arrivederci, Millwall. Till next time.
Who do you want to watch?
Hi, it's Rachel Fisher from the Hollywood Crime Scene podcast, and I'm here to talk to you about Shudder. Shudder is the ultimate streaming service for fans of horror, thrillers, and the supernatural. Shudder offers an unbeatable selection from Hollywood favorites like Halloween and cult classics like one of my personal favorites, Chopping Mall, to original series like Creepshow and The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. Check out critically acclaimed new genre films that you won't find anywhere else, all uncut and commercial-free. If you're a horror fan like me or just looking for new content to stream, Shudder is a must-have subscription. Sign up and subscribe to Shudder.